And we're back. On that note, okay, I am going to move on a bit. There's a couple things I want to talk about. Okay, first things first. Wisconsin. Let's go back to them.
All right, go back to Wisconsin.
They had a 90-something.
They have good cheese.
They had a 90-something% voter turnout.
Yes.
Okay.
Good for them.
Here's what's interesting about that. Their highest voter turnout ever.
Yeah, I know
was 66%. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, that means the highest voter turnout ever was 66% for Obama.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Bush, if they hated Bush, right? So you either love a president or hate him, right? That's
No.
Okay.
You either love or don't like until this election, where it's you either love or hate to your core.
So there, let me finish though. 66%. This election had a 30% increase.
Good.
Okay, 96% turnout. The odds of that being true?
All right, fine.
0.000000189.
But not impossible.
In other words, it's a 1 in 52 million chance that we had a 30% increase.
All right, but not impossible.
Not only is that
just improbable,
it's improbable, but it's statistically impossible.
It's not statistically impossible.
It is.
First off, it is not statistically impossible because all statistics have at least a 5% margin of error. Second of all,
but not a 30% margin of error.
Okay, not 30% margin
of
error.
Like, let's say they say,
again,
hey, 68%,
I point
69%.
to the, if you want to call it Trump derangement syndrome, that's fine. I'm on board with that. You with how passionate, whether good or bad, how passionate people were about this, to the point where, I mean, people were literally being dragged kicking and screaming to vote because you have to vote or you're a bad human being. Because if you don't vote, that means you said Trump, you're making Trump win, or you're making sure Biden wins, and that means you're a bad person, and I'm going to kick you in the balls.
Is it passion or is it desperation from the left?
What does it matter? It's still happening. Okay. And with this high of mail by vote, with this high level of vote by mail, it's even easier because you're doing it to people in your own home. You're doing it to your kid who just turned 18, saying, hey, sit down and you're going to fill this out. And if you're not going to fill it out, I'm going to fill it out for you. These things were happening. So, again, I am willing to acknowledge the possibility that they had a 30% increase in their voter this time round. And you'll probably never see it again because it was so passionate. Because people were literally calling this like a vote for the soul of America, to the point where, I guarantee you this is going to happen. People are going to be going around over the next year and be like, hey, who'd you vote for? Mm-hmm. And if you don't have the right answer, you're getting punched in the face. To the point, like, oh, you didn't vote for Biden? You're a racist piece of shit, and I'm gonna kick you in, I'm gonna kick you in the balls, and I'm gonna punch you in the face. But then it's gonna go beyond that and be like, hey, who did you vote for? Oh, you know what? I just couldn't do it, and I stayed out of it. Well, then you're still part of the problem. That's going to happen.
Okay. You've been dodging all my darts lately. I think you're totally wrong on that one. There's no way it got that high. Yeah, you're doing something crazy over there. But anyways, so if Biden truly won,
okay,
he did it without winning Ohio or Florida.
Yes.
Which hasn't happened since 1960.
Okay.
And even in 1960, that was Richard Nixon running the first time.
Yep.
And that one had a lot of fraud, or there was going to be a lot of fraud.
Sure, it did.
And Nixon finally came out after contesting and looking at stuff and doing everything. He said, look, for the purpose of uniting the country, I'm going to concede. Mm-hmm. And that's what he did. Okay? So he did it without winning those. He did it while basically the rest of the country moved further to the right. Okay?
I disagree, but okay.
Well, hear me out. The seats that Democrats picked up in 2018, they lost.
Yes.
Every single one. They did not get a majority in the House of Reps.
That's true.
They lost everything they had picked up in 2018.
Thank goodness for that.
Yes. They did not sweep the Senate.
No, they did not.
Okay, it looks like, Georgia has a runoff coming up, but it looks like it's going to be 51-49 in the Senate. Mm-hmm. Okay. That is also something else that doesn't make sense, because when Trump won, Republicans swept in the House and Senate.
Okay.
Okay, for 2 years they had a majority. When Obama won, the same thing. And 2 years later, we took over the House, and then a couple years later, we took over the Senate again, even though Obama got reelected. But what that suggests is although the rest of the country, not emotionally or personally, voted, okay, now granted, you have the 200,000 people that didn't vote one way or the other, but what this would suggest is that millions of people voted for Biden, but suddenly voted for a Republican for their House of Reps, or a Republican for their Senate. Okay? I don't think enough people would have done that.
I do.
I know, because the history has shown they go right down the ballot.
So I'm a big believer in history, and you have to look at history. Okay, I agree with you on that point. You know, you don't know your history, you're doomed to repeat it, and all that good stuff. However, it cannot be used, or let me rephrase, should not be used to discount what may have happened. Well, that's never happened before. Well, that means it can't happen now? No, it doesn't. Here's what you have, and I'm going to go back to the, again, derangement, whatever you want to call it, psychosis that has befallen this country over the past, realistically, past year or two on both sides. You have a lot of Democrats that were moving more towards the right. You have a lot of Republicans that were moving more towards the left, because a lot of Republicans that I know were seeing things that they didn't like about Trump, and they're like, I just can't vote for this guy again, knowing that it's going to be 4 more years of this.
Of media,
of 4 more years of attacks, 4 more years of, everybody who's not on board the Biden train is obviously a Trump supporter, so you're a piece of shit and a racist and you have to die. And they just don't want that anymore.
You could not turn on the news without hearing about that.
Absolutely. But by that same token, there were people that really saw Biden for not Biden. Let's call it like it is. Nobody thinks Biden's really going to be the president that long. Sees Kamala Harris for what she is, which is a socialist, Marxist communist who is going to help drag this country into communism, and they don't want that. Even as Democrats, they're like, look, Democrats, we're about, screaming socialism without actually wanting socialism. That's the thing about most Democrats. They talk about socialist programs, but they don't really want actual socialism, because who's prosperous under socialist programs? Nobody. Under real socialism, only the top less than 1% is really prosperous under socialism.
I think you're giving them too much credit.
Maybe I am.
I think a big portion of Democrats have no idea what the Democrat Party represents anymore.
Oh, I'm sure. But I think most of the people, they don't want true socialism. So yeah, they're like, I'm still not going to vote for Biden. I'm not going to vote for Biden, or I'm going to vote for Biden, but I don't want that crazy shit running my state.
Well,
look at Arizona, perfect example. Arizona is not a blue state.
Not at all.
Not at all. But it voted majority Biden.
Well, that's contested as well.
Okay, it's contested. But do I believe that happened? I absolutely believe that happened, because there are enough Republicans or conservatives who live in Arizona who are like, look, I just don't want 4 more years of this bullshit, but I still don't want a Democrat running my state. So I'm still going to vote for a Republican to run my state, but I'm sure as hell not voting for Donald Trump, because I just don't want 4 more years of this crap.
Look at the rallies, look at all that stuff. I mean, Trump had the motivation. He had the people behind him.
Apparently, he did not.
It doesn't. Here's the thing: if you're right, it would be a first for everything.
Yeah,
it'd be a first that a Democrat was
possible.
It was first that a Democrat got elected, and the rest of the country moved to the right. Okay, it would be a first that a Democrat got elected without winning Ohio and or Florida.
Okay,
all right, since 1960 without fraud. Okay, it'd be a first. That what was the other one? Now I lost my train of thought.
Sorry, I hate that.
Okay, but no, you had a guy who basically could not get anyone out to rise. There was no motivation, no excitement behind him at all. He almost appeared as just like a puppet, like, well, we have to put up somebody. Let's put up that guy because people know who he is, and then we'll think about 2024. Just nothing made sense.
Let me play devil's advocate for just a second. Is it fair to say that on the subject of COVID, there is a political difference in ideology in how you address COVID?
Sure, but there shouldn't
right?
be, but yeah.
There shouldn't be, but there is, okay? Conservatives tend to be less give a crap about it. Liberals tend to be more, hey, it's real, it's serious, we have to take it seriously. So looking at that, would it be fair to say that had an impact on what you see at a rally for Trump and Biden? You have the Trump supporters who are largely conservative, of course, who, they don't really give a crap about COVID. Hey, you're going to make me wear a stupid mask? Fine, I'll wear the stupid mask, which is pretty much how I feel about it, but I'm still going to show up. Whereas the liberals, who are more of the, COVID, that's a bad thing, we really shouldn't be getting together in large groups, so I'm not showing up to the rally, still got your back, not going to show up to the rally. Would you say that is a possibility, that would affect the number of people that would show up at each individual rally?
No, because I don't think they would have.
Interesting.
I don't think they would have kept having rallies. If they truly believe
that, you can't not have the rally.
If they truly believe that, they don't want people showing up. I don't think they would even bother having rallies in the first place.
I'm not talking about the Biden campaign. Mm-hmm. I'm talking about actual
the fear-mongering
liberals. No. I'm talking about actual liberals who are, hey, yes, Biden. I'm going to sneeze. Biden's about to have this big rally. He wants to have this big rally. I don't feel comfortable going to that rally because of COVID. Because as a liberal, and I'm sure that I'm sure no liberal ever says, as a liberal, as a liberal, they feel that it is real and it is serious and we shouldn't get together, so they don't show up to these things. Now, that doesn't mean the Biden campaign isn't going to still have the rally, because they have to have those. That's a political necessity, especially at the tail end of a presidential campaign. You just can't not do that. But I'm saying the possibility exists that the difference between the amount of people you saw at each rally could be affected by that. You're saying that that's not a possibility at all?
I just don't think that.
Don't you hate when you use logic?
I don't think that's even logical.
You don't think it's logical?
I think there was no way he was going to win.
I didn't think he was going to win either. But you know what? Apparently America thought differently.
Possible, maybe, probable, no.
All right.
And I think that's why there's so many allegations. Here's the thing. This week, a lot of these lawsuits are going to start. A lot of these arguments are going to start. Maybe by next week, we'll have more answers.
Speaking of lawsuits.
Because I'm on board with the idea of, hey, if America chose Biden, he chose Biden. Okay? I get that. If America made that decision, that's fine. If there was fraud, I'm praying to God it wasn't enough to change the election.
No, and I don't...
Because that might lead to
yes.
That could lead to the collapse of our...
Absolutely. I 100% agree with you. I truly believe there was some kind of fraud. I do. I think there was some out there. I don't think it was enough to really influence how it ended.
Yeah, because it would have to be fraud into the 25,000.
Absolutely.
The 200,000 ballots.
Crazy amount.
Yeah.
I don't think there was enough to really make a difference. I think, unfortunately, Biden won. And we just have to get over it.
Yeah, and luckily you don't have a super majority across the border. We'd really be
That's true. So let me put this out there to you as well, because you keep talking about how it's impossible that these things happen. It's impossible that these things happen. There were these two guys who lived a long time ago. Okay, maybe you heard of them. They're called the Wright brothers. They had this crazy idea about a machine that could fly, and people were like, "Dude, that's impossible. You can't do that. It is utterly impossible." Things are only impossible until they're not. I'm just saying. Impossible is a strong word. I will give you highly improbable, but not impossible.
All right.
Oh yeah, I remember you were telling me that.
Yeah. Shh.
I need silence.
Silencio, por favor.
Hey, you two. I saw him. I saw you.
Oh, sorry.
And I saw you twice.
Okay, you know what? I will not help.
This is a show, and I need to pretend like I'm not acknowledging all that.
Don't acknowledge us. We'll be over here doing our own thing.
I wasn't doing like a party, like, hey.
Right? We're just over here doing our own thing.